Hello, welcome back. Goat, you heard me. Goat, that's what I'm going to cook today. Some people call it goat stew. Puerto Rico, we call it Cabrito Guisado. Although my grandmother used to call it Cabrito and fricassee. I'm going to show you with my own personal touches here and there how that thing is made. So go nowhere while I drink this Argentinian wine and let's create. So in addition to the goat, this is what I'm going to have. I'm going to have some sea salt. I'm going to have some beef broth. The amount is going to depend on the amount of what we have in the pot. It's a visual thing. I'm going to have some extra virgin olive oil, black pepper, couple bay leaf, about 9 to 11 teeth of garlic, which I'm going to mince. I have some squash, can be pumpkin too, little bit squares. I'm going to cut this into pieces. This is a chayote. I'm going to cut into small pieces like this. I have a couple sweet mini peppers. You can use bell peppers too, like green, red, orange, yellow, but you don't need a lot. See, this is the mini ones. I got a large potato, which I'm going to peel and cut in blocks. I have half an onion, which I'm going to chop in tiny pieces. I have some fresh oregano, which I got from the farmer's market today. I'm going to take it out this thing, and I'm going to chop it into small pieces. And I have some cilantro, which I'm going to cut. And I'm going to have a few left for the end of the meal toward the last 2 or 3 minutes, just to give it that earthy flavor. I have a tomato. What I'm going to do with this tomato, I'm going to make a tomato sauce. I'm not going to make a lot because I don't want this to turn orange, but I'm going to make enough to give enough flavor. Oh, and I have this carrot that I picked up from the farmer's market today. I'm going to peel and cut into cylinders. So here we have the goat. I actually went to a meat market called Safa Halal Meats here in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And this is as fresh as it gets. I bought a piece of meat that consisted from the neck to the shoulder and part of the rib. And he cut it into pieces, about 4 pounds. I think we have about maybe 2.5 pounds here. So what I'm going to do, and this part is optional, the vinegar. I'm just going to put a couple cups of vinegar. Once again, putting the vinegar is optional. What is not optional is adding salt, and I'm going to use some sea salt. And I'm going to use some ground pepper. And I'm going to put it through the entire thing. Then I'm going to mix it all nicely. And you could have marinated this overnight if you wanted to. But in reality, it's not needed. What is important is keep it out of the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes so it can cook nicely. So, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sear these babies. So I have a very hot pot. Heat is in high. And I'm going to grab some extra virgin olive oil. I like my Tunisian one, which I actually found in Target of all places. But this is an award-winning olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. So, start putting those babies in. And what I'm doing with this, I'm getting the flavors out of this goat. Every time I do a stew, a fricassee, or something of that nature, I go to this step. I don't care if it's a rabbit, beef, lamb, goat, chicken. I always go through this process. And you start doing your magic. You start making sure, things are a little bit darker. Right now it's a high heat. Now you don't want this fully cooked. You want to take it to like close to a rare, maybe medium rare level. If you go medium rare, make it like more rare than medium. But what you want cooked is the outside. You want the outside dark. And start working on this. So I pretty much did this for like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Once again, you don't want it fully cooked. Just want to give it that nice looking color, get the juices out, see? Get that salt and pepper. And I think it's ready for the next step. So here comes the next step of the process. Now you have a pot, hot, high heat, extra virgin olive oil. You don't need a whole lot. And start adding the ingredients. And I'm going to start with the onions, which are chopped. This is a half an onion. Big onion, by the way. And the key here, you don't want this burn, so you're going to move it around a little bit. Going to put some cilantro, oregano, the mini peppers, and the chayote. See how small I cut them? Mix it around for like a few seconds. And this is the garlic. I mince it. Some of them are squash, but I'm using it all. It's about 10 to 6. Ooh, smelling good. You're still moving it because you don't want the stuff burnt. And now it comes the tomato sauce. Not a lot, not a whole lot. It's about small tomato. I don't use canned tomato sauce. I like to go natural. So here it is. Looking good, looking good. Add the squash or pumpkin, whatever you choose. And you're mixing up for a little bit. I say no more than a minute or two, if you don't want things burned. You kind of saute some of the stuff, by the way. This is what you're doing in essence. But you want it to get some flavor. So now comes the part that you add the meat. From here. Add it all. Put some of the grease too. That was me throwing stuff around. And you start mixing stuff. Now put it in medium because you don't want things burned. Put it in medium for now. So you can move stuff around. Do this for like a minute or two. Mixing stuff around. That's me again. Trying to move stuff around the stove so I can work. You do this for a minute or two. See how it's looking? In essence, you are using the goat to help you base. Because the goat is already, it was already seared. Or whatever you want to call that. Is helping the base that you created. And now it's becoming part of the base. See how it looks? Now you start adding the broth. And I don't like this to be soupy. So add enough like to somewhat cover, because I'm going to rely on the steam too when I cover this. And I'm going to increase the heat to high. And I will start adding the potatoes. You know, I distribute them nicely. And I'm going to add some of the carrots. See how big I'm using the chunks. And some people don't use carrots. I like it. Have the right vitamins. You know. And if you feel that you need to add a little bit more broth, feel free to do that. Because you want everything to cook. I have not forgotten my bay leaf, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer for that. So the way I'm going to do this, I have it in high heat. And actually, I'm going to add a little bit more of the broth. Just a little bit more. Enough to cover, but not too much. See, I can still feel the solids and see some of the solids. So one important step after you move stuff around is to give it a taste. You want to give this a taste. And now you determine if you want to add a little bit more salt. And you have two options. You can add the thick one that I used earlier, or you want to go with the thin one. So I'm going to add a little bit of this one. I do recommend to use the thin one because you might be used to that one. But this part of the process is for your taste. It's up to you how much you want to add. It's to your taste. Make sure you mix it. And what you're going to do now, you want to get into a boil, which is not going to take long because you can see how the bubbling is creating. And once it gets to a boil, you cover it, you lower it to medium. maybe medium high, but I'll go to medium because I'm going to cook it for a while. You cover it. And I say let it cook for about 15 minutes. Come here and watch it from time to time. You know, do a little bit of movement because you don't want the bottom to burn. Although this one is not going to burn because I have a good pot. And a good way of telling when this is cooked is by looking at the potatoes and the carrots. But this one I want to cook for a little while because I want the meat to absorb and get nice. So this is starting to boil, so I'm going to cover it. I'm going to put it in kind of medium, and I'm going to run it for 15 minutes. So it's been 15 minutes. So let me take a look at this. I always be careful with the steam. Steam is hot. I mean, this is not even close to be made cooked yet, but it's time to add another step to the process. I'm going to add the bay leaf. And this is very optional. I didn't even put them in the ingredients at the beginning. This is saffron, and this is Persian saffron. I buy it from small business in the United States. In the past, I have used the one from Spain. I buy it from the same place. And there are 3 ways of using this. I have a very short video, about 60 seconds, that explain the 3 ways. And the way I'm going to use it now, what I did is I grabbed this and I squash it. And what I'm going to do now, this is optional, I'm going to add it here. It gives them the flavor. That's hard to describe. This is the ingredient of kings, and I'm not kidding. And now that you put some, distribute it a little bit. And I say, let's lower the heat to close to low, and much higher. And let it cook for another 15 minutes. Oops. Okay, time out. Carefully, carefully. This stuff looks beautiful. Oh yeah. It's about ready. Oh yes, sir. See how beautiful? So now comes my signature touch. Some cilantro. And this is to give it an earth flavor. You could have used some parsley too, by the way. I want cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, go with parsley. So what I'm doing, you know, Mother Earth. I'm sharing Mother Earth. I want it to smell natural, tasty, delicious. So what I'm going to do, now that I added this, I'm going to cook it for another 2 to maybe 3 minutes. But this time at very low. And the only thing I'm doing here is making sure the last flavor gets mixed properly. And once that happens, we're done. Ready to eat.